Ever since I was a little kid, I have liked Christmas Eve. Now, don't get me wrong, I liked Christmas morning as a kid too. I loved jumping out of bed, running out to the living room, finding piles of toys and games and fun things that my mom had bought. My mom always did a great job with Christmas morning, and so we'd get up early and open all this stuff and play with new stuff all day long. And Christmas Day was fun for that reason. Christmas Day was fun too because you got to eat a lot and see a lot of people, and that was always nice. But I liked Christmas Eve. I like Christmas Eve because I have some traditions around Christmas Eve that I've kept for years and years and years. For example, when I was about 10 years old, I watched the black and white Christmas Carol movie. CBC used to play it every year, and so when I was about 10 years old, I sat down and watched it. And every year since then, on Christmas Eve, I have watched the black and white Alastair Sim 1953 or whatever it is movie, The Christmas Carol. And it doesn't matter whether I'm at home or at my mom's place or at Dauphin or wherever we go, I take a copy with me just in case so that I can watch The Christmas Carol. I've done it since I was 10 years old every Christmas Eve. Ever since I was 16 years old and got my driver's license, every Christmas Eve my family has done a twinkle tour. We've driven around town and looked at Christmas lights on Christmas Eve, and it's just something we've always done. Again, no matter where we are, that's what we do on Christmas Eve. Throw everybody in a vehicle and go for a drive and look at lights. This Christmas Eve, we're going to do that again. This Christmas Eve, we plan to go twinkle touring. This Christmas Eve, we'll find me sitting in front of my TV watching the black and white Christmas Carol as I've done every other year. This Christmas Eve will be the same in that way. But in lots of different ways, as you well know, Christmas Eve isn't the same this year. Christmas Day won't be the same this year. It's probably true for you too, but this is the first year since I have left home that I won't be going to Moose Jaw or Dauphin over the Christmas holidays or having them here. This is the first year since I left home that I won't be with my extended family. And that makes this Christmas different. In fact, this whole year has been different, right? It's been a struggle in lots of different ways. And so this has a lot of people looking to Christmas and the hope of Christmas as something good this year, because we need something good. And so I've heard lots of people talking about how important hope and the story of Christ's birth is going to be to them this year. And I get that. I think that's really good. But I want to remind you of something else. Hold the thought about Jesus' birth and all those things for a moment. And let me tell you something else that happened just recently. Sunday night and Monday night found me, Sarah, and Megan sitting out on rural roads in the cold looking up at the sky. Like many of you, we were interested in seeing the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn, something that hasn't been seen in that way for about 800 years, right? And so Sunday night we drove out into the rural areas just to see what we could see and get ready for Monday night when that was actually going to be a really big deal, when it was actually going to be closer than even on Sunday night. And so it was kind of interesting as we drove out on Sunday night, we saw all kinds of people doing the same thing as us. There was an older couple on the far side of our neighborhood. They were setting up a tripod and a camera so they could take pictures. A bunch of my friends posted pictures that they had taken of these two planets in the western sky. Lots of people I know were out looking, and in fact, as we drove out to find some dark sky, we saw lots of people parked along the road doing the same thing as us, looking up and seeing the sight of Jupiter and Saturn coming together. Unfortunately, because it's 2020, on Monday night, we didn't get to see a thing. It was overcast and too many clouds, and even though we went out to look, we couldn't see anything that night. But again, there were lots of people out trying to find it, trying to see this once-in-a-lifetime event. And here's the interesting thing for me, and that is that it was strange for me to see a bunch of people just suddenly start to focus on the stars and on the planets, on the things that are out there, because most of the time, most people don't care. I like astronomy. I like looking at the stars. I like knowing what's in the sky. Every single day I get a email from this website that tells me what's going on in the sky and what to look for. And I know a teeny tiny bit about stars and their movements and constellations and everything. I just am quite interested in that stuff. So I think about it every once in a while. But it was interesting to me that there were tons of people who haven't gone out and looked at a star in years that were finally out looking to see Jupiter and Saturn because it was a once in a lifetime thing. It was going to happen on this one day, and so they were suddenly interested in looking at the stars that one day. And I think that's great. That's fine. That's really nice that they would pay attention that one day, but here's the thing. Jupiter and Saturn have been up in the night sky for 6 months now. Jupiter and Saturn have been there for years and years and years. Jupiter and Saturn have been there since creation. It's kind of interesting that every once in a while we decide to look, but the fact of the matter is that they're always there. I feel a little the same way when we come to the celebration of Christmas, because I appreciate that at this time of year, people who don't often look to Christ actually start to look. I appreciate at this time of year that radio stations that would never play anything about God suddenly start playing songs and Christmas carols about the birth of Christ. I appreciate the fact that there are movies on TV that talk about those things when there aren't any other times. I appreciate the fact that at least once in a while, once a year, we stop and think a little bit about Christ's birth. I like that once in a while we do stop and think about the fact that Jesus came to our world. But the truth of the matter is that's not just a one-time thing. The truth of the matter is that didn't just happen in the past. The truth of the matter is that's not just something you need to think about once a year. It's actually something you can think about all the time. The hope that people find in this season is actually a hope that we have constantly. Every single day. Even in the worst circumstances. Even in our hard times. In John chapter 1, you may remember in verse 14 that John says, one of the guys who followed Jesus, one of his apostles, one of his people who knew him well, said this: the Word became flesh. The Word being Jesus, the Son of God. The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. I like that he says that the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. There is a point in time where God stepped into our history, where God lowered himself, where his Son gave up his position with the Father and came to this earth and was born as a helpless baby. I love the fact that God came and lived among us, made his dwelling among us, was like one of us. There's all sorts of truths there that are beautiful and wonderful and need to be thought about for a while. But the fact is that Jesus didn't just come once and then leave. He may have come once, lived and died and rose again and went back home physically, but Christ is still with us. Christ still makes his dwelling among us. He hasn't left us. He hasn't given up on us. He hasn't gone away. In fact, we're told that he's at the right hand of God interceding for us. He is pleading our case to God. He knows us so well that he is talking to his Father on our behalf every single day. I like the fact that Jesus came to the earth and taught us about his Father and taught us about eternal life and things we would never know otherwise, and then died for us. That he took our sins on the cross and was buried and then rose again. And we have that hope as well. I like that this time of year is a hopeful time of year for people, and especially in a year that has been really tough. I hope you find the hope of this time of year. I hope you find the peace that comes with knowing that God came to live among us in the form of his Son. But maybe more than that, I hope that you find that peace and that hope and that joy every single day of the year. That it's not just a Christmas thing, but that it's a all the time thing. I started this off by telling you that I liked Christmas Eve because I like the anticipation that comes with Christmas Eve. I like looking forward. I like thinking ahead to what's coming. I like dreaming about gifts that I'm getting and gifts I'm giving and what the next day will be like. Christmas Eve to me is filled with anticipation. And I hope you are filled with that as well in this day. Again, it's been a hard year and lots of things have not gone the way we want them to, but you know what? Life is actually hard. It's only us North Americans who kind of think that we control everything. We've got enough resources. We kind of plan our own lives and make things go the way we want them to. And we get upset when we don't get our own way sometimes. But most of the world doesn't live that way. Most of the world realizes that they're not going to get what they want here. Most of the world realizes that they don't get to control very much. And maybe we're just feeling a little piece of that today. But the good news is, the anticipating part is that we get to look forward to and hope in something that is still coming. We get to look forward to and hope in the good things that are coming, the good things that God has prepared for us, the good things that will come in this new year and eternally. And so as we go into a Christmas that is not like any other Christmas day that I have ever known, I go in realizing that it is different and not really what I want, but I also go in being thankful. I'm thankful for hope. I'm thankful for joy. I'm thankful for my life. I'm thankful for my immediate family. I'm thankful for my extended family. I'm thankful for my friends. I'm thankful for my church family. I'm thankful for you watching these videos and the interaction that we've had in this way over the last few months. I've heard from some people that I haven't heard from in 20 years because of these videos, and I really want to thank you for doing that. That has brightened my year. In this year that has not been the way I would want it to be, there have been some really, really good things. And I'm anticipating some really, really good things coming in the next little while. I'm anticipating some really, really good things whether I get everything my way or not. Here's the thing. Joseph and Mary's life didn't turn out exactly as they wanted it to either, right? They didn't dream of the story that they were going to live, but in the end, they wouldn't have chosen a different one. I don't know what your Christmas day is going to look like, but I do know this. You are not alone. God has not left us. There are still lots of things to be joyful about, and we can choose to be thankful. We can choose to be joyful. We can choose to look to the good, and we can choose to believe in a God that hasn't left us, that came to the world once and is still here with us, still looking after us, still caring for us. I hope that you find that joy and that peace and that anticipation. I hope that you can live with that expectation that God is not done yet and that things are going to be okay. Love one another, care for each other, look for the good. Those are the best presents you can give one another this year. May God bless you, and Merry Christmas.